And here we are. Welcome, everybody. I'm here with, well, the other way, this guy, Todd Boe, one of the
Yes.
pastors here at Sanctuary.
Good
And
morning.
good to see you this morning, Todd.
Good to see you as well. You've got a great backdrop, much better than
I
mine.
do. So let me tell you what happened. I struggle with the internet here. I mean, it's been, as you know, it's been really bad. And my internet was good until we were getting ready to start. And that's why we're a little late today. And so I took my router and I went all over. And so I'm sitting in front of the our storehouse that we use for the ministries outside with it plugged in. And I thought I'm just going to sit out in front of the door. And this is where I got the best reception. So here we are. I'm outside. And it's hot
And you're not
and
melting yet.
humid. Yeah. It's hot and humid, as you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Yes, I
yes.
do.
And we're not enjoying that part. Well, folks,
No.
thank you for joining us today. It's great to see you and have you here. I want you to just let me know that you're here. Just chime in and let me know where you're from. And Peter is here this morning. Good morning, Peter. Good to see you. And just let me know where you're from, folks, when you sign in. And it would be great to see how far-reaching we are today. Ian, our good friend Ian, is here. Ian Hunter, and thank you for joining us as well. Todd, I'm excited that we're going to be able to share some things from our heart today. We um,
Yeah,
we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Aragorn
we
is
do.
here from Alabama. I came from Alabama with the banjo on my knee. There you go. You know that song. Peter is from Florida. Peter, you're probably a little more humid and hot than we are today, I'm sure. It's he's suffering there in Florida. And from Washington State, Ghost Redneck. I would imagine that may not be his real name. What do you think? Just saying. Just saying. Well,
That's
Todd,
funny.
we want to talk about the ministry today. We want to answer your questions as well, and please feel free to chime in. No more junkie business. I like that. From San Diego. Good to see you, San Diego. Let go of my ego. Barry is here, our good friend Barry. Good morning, Barry. We like him very, very much, Todd.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes, we
Barry's
do.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's awesome.
exactly.
And Brian.
And
Brian's
Gary
here.
Ireton. Good to see you, our good friend
Gary.
Gary, who
Yeah.
betrayed us, moved out of Tennessee, and moved to California.
What?
We still like him, but just not as much. No, that's a betrayal.
That's
Well,
funny.
Todd, I want to talk a little bit about ministry today. And, we've gotten so many people. Andrew, good morning. And he said, I need some Headbangers Brew. And so do I. I forgot to bring it out with me. I tried to grab all the important things as I was coming down here. Of course, the most important would have been the Headbangers Brew. I goofed
Yes.
it. But, Todd, we want to talk a little bit about ministry. We're getting a lot of questions about, how is the homeless ministry going? What is going on with sanctuary and the barbecues, then the Acts 242 gatherings, and we got a lot to
Yes,
talk about.
we do. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
We have a lot going on.
We do. And it's exciting when you see how God is moving and the things that He's doing and the doors that He's opening.
Yeah.
And Patrick says, how have the Tennessee laws affected your homeless ministry? So, Todd, let's
Mhm.
start there, shall we?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do that.
Every once in a while, God um, prompts you to do a little bit of a reset. And Todd, our reset has been a little more major than we had thought it would be. Um, we're still very excited about the homeless ministry. We're still very excited about, uh, you know, working with people on the streets and working with people who are, having a difficult time. And but we've kind of expanded it a little bit as well. And Sam is here from Finland. Good to see you. But you see, we're in a place where we just kind of need to pull way back and say, God, what are you doing? And Todd, why don't you take it from here? We've kind of gone from just feeding the homeless on the streets to our storehouse, talk a little bit about the storehouse and talk about some of the new opportunities.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's such a transition. Regarding the laws, let me go back to that. When the laws switched out here in Tennessee, the challenge was it shifted a lot of the homeless people, our folks, to a number of different locations. They kind of had to sprawl out all over the place. They didn't really have a location, a central location any longer to really, for us to really go to and just stick around at that location. So we found it necessary to starting to partner even greater with people who were, able to reach distant locations further than where we're at. So, and then it was even the other challenge with that was even coming together to try and figure out where these folks had actually gone to. As we were working together with the other ministries, that started to come together, but it took quite a bit of time to do that. And in that process, we'd planned on adding Murfreesboro, which we did, which was great. And so we've got folks, that were feeding in Murfreesboro and in Nashville, and then of course the other folks feeding in the surrounding areas. So as we looked at it, and as funds dictated some things, some good things came about. One is one of the highlights of the events, I guess, of the year is Randy got married. So that's awesome. Randy is our guy who actually goes out, feeds folks, makes a meal, and feeds folks on the streets. You've probably seen his podcast, which is awesome. And he's exceptional at that. I mean, there's nobody better than Randy.
Nobody better, right?
Yeah, getting people on the street and reaching people on the street, you're not going to find anybody better than Randy. That is his wheelhouse. He's very, very good at that. Um, but in the challenge that we ran into was the finances and those kind of things. But the good thing is, when Randy got married, he married a wife who actually has a ministry as well. And so, in the transition of things, we looking at stuff, we offered Randy the going over to his wife's ministry and feeding under that umbrella. What it did with Sanctuary was it opened up a whole other area for Sanctuary to actually expand and provide food for a lot more areas, which we had talked about doing before, but we just didn't have the capability of doing it until now, which is great. So what that means is what Sanctuary's done is we've gone from just making food and providing food to 8, 9 ministries to now we bring the food in, we provide food for not just the homeless ministries, but now we have 12 ministries that we provide for that actually go out there and they feed the folks on the street. We also provide, and we've expanded in this area recently for a women's shelter, so a battered women's shelter. What that means is when ladies are, they get into a situation or an abusive situation, they leave and they go into this place with their kids, and they can take up to 15 ladies and their kids. And this is in a lockdown situation. So it's a armed guard lockdown situation. So it's very serious. They don't get to get out very much or a whole lot. They do get to go to the, churches and those kind of things, but not a lot of venturing out. So we're working to see what we can do in that arena. Miss Bonnie and Pastor Bob have actually approved and excited to put in a playground on the property there. So we're hoping to be able to put in a playground so we can have these families come over and bring their kids over, and they can actually have a day where they can get out a little bit. So that's one little area, but another really exciting area that's been on our hearts for a while, and we just didn't have the means to do it until now, is this. And I love this, and I know we're going to talk about this more in depth, Pastor Bob, but um, we, the families that adopt and take in kids that have been trafficked, we are providing food for these families. Right now, we're starting at 7 families. And honestly, that could grow into a number of different families, countless families that we can get into. But we just started making contact with these folks about a month ago, and it's been remarkable. So the expansion of where we're going right now is the 12 ministries that feed on the street, and then we've got the shelter, and then we've got the families, all those across the board, which we had no ability to do before. And now we've got a huge capability of providing that for this. Now, the interesting thing about the families,
Yeah.
um, these families, when they adopt these kids, they actually pay for the adoption and everything out of their pocket. It runs between about $8,000 and $16,000 to adopt a child. There's one of these families that have adopted 6 kids, which is amazing. You know, they they go through the process and they bring these kids in. These families also pay the court costs to go to court to take the perpetrator to court. So they don't always win, because the challenge is that the kids don't know how to express the things that have happened to them. So without that expression, there's not always a conviction behind it. So that's part of the challenge in there. But I know I'm getting a little deeper than we wanted to right off, but um, these are areas that we've grown into. Now we've been able to shift the storehouse. I'll get some pictures up on Sanctuary Matrix here pretty soon. But so the storehouse, we've been able to shift it a little bit in the sense of we're not cooking there so much anymore. We're we're balancing out the room in there, and so what we're doing is we put in a diner in the storehouse. Um, Pretty much everything in this diner was donated, which is amazing. I had to drive around a few days, but I found a couple of cabinet makers, custom cabinet makers, and they had some cabinets that they couldn't do anything with, so they donated them. And then we got the countertops at a really deep discount from Home Depot, which is a great deal. And so Jim and Jamie and I jumped in there and painted and put this stuff together, and hopefully it's a good presentation piece. But the idea behind that is what we want to do is we want to bring the ministries in house and provide an evening, where we can just play some worship music with them, bless their lives, and feed them, and get these ministries that are out there, feeding other folks, and just kind of minister to them in an evening. And we want to do that, hopefully start off with once a quarter, and then hopefully increase it from there. But I'd like to get the shelter folks at the shelter, get them an evening and have some time also, and then as well as the families. We've had a few families come at the same time, and the really great thing about that is, I want to say the same time to come and pick up food to take back home. When they meet with us at the storehouse, it's like there's an instant connection between these families. Even if they don't know each other, it's like they instantly connect with an understanding, a deeper understanding of what their lives are like, which is amazing to watch. And it's a really sweet time. So we'd like to have, a few families come at a time to, just be ministered to, give them a meal, give them a cup of coffee, and sit there at the diner and just enjoy and relax and kind of unload. And so that's kind of the phase of where we're at now and where we're heading out towards. I'm expecting the families to increase exponentially over the next 6 or 8 months. I think we're going to have a lot more families that will be taken care of in the world of adoption and adopting the kids that are sex trafficked. So that gives you kind of a broad overview, some little detail in there, but a broad overview of where we're at right now and what that looks like. So very excited about it.
Yes.
We just had a meeting. I had a meeting this week with Feed America, and so we're getting food from Trader Joe's, which is a partner of ours, been a partner for years. But another exciting area is Feed America is going to they'll be providing us food once a month to the tune of about 1,500 pounds of food. So that's a lot of food. We'll bring that in, and again, we'll rotate that out. We don't keep a lot of stuff in the storehouse, oddly enough. It sounds like when you say storehouse, like we store it up. We don't. It comes in, we package it up, we get it in boxes, and ministries will come by, we load them up, and then the shelter will come by, we load them up, and the families come by and we load them up, and that's so it literally comes in organized, separated out, and kind of some areas are specialized based on if somebody has an allergy or something like that. So once we get all that done, then they swing on by and we load them up. So yeah, it's been a little bit of an undertaking, but it's such a great opportunity. It's been wonderful to watch.
It really has, Todd. And it's interesting how God has led through this whole thing because, as you know, it's been 18 years since we started the homeless ministry. Really important ministry, very near and dear to my heart. And so my focus was kind of on that. And one little detail that Todd didn't talk about was that we've lost a lot of our funding. Um, this is not an easy time for so many people, and there are a lot of people that have been contributing monthly that have dropped off. Almost every day we have somebody else, and so we've gone to probably less than half of what we were bringing in. We could no longer afford to do everything, and and that just really kind of shook us up. And I always feel like, wherever God guides, He provides. So I wanted Him to show us maybe what we were doing wrong, what He wanted us to correct, or different areas He wanted us to be involved with. And we pulled way back to discover that, and then opportunities kept coming up. And Todd, one of the things, and you and I, Todd, have talked about this a lot, is that's been on my heart for a few years now, are the number of children that are trafficked internationally. And folks, you
Yes.
have no idea how bad it is. There are probably over 1 million that are. And I've just wanted to see, how do we affect them? Uh, I'm sitting
Bless you.
outside. I have allergies. Here we go.
Bless you anyway. And so we'll pay it forward with that.
Yes, exactly. So, um, so we pulled way back, and we were able to, you know, to hook up with these families, these dear families, and let me tell you, folks, the damage that is done to children who are trafficked are incredible, incredible. And one little girl that was here, very standoffish and very um, afraid of almost everyone. One of the problems that they have with her is that she, when they're not looking, will smear her own excrement all over herself to keep predators away. And that's one way that she's learned, and other children have learned to kind of survive. And not all of them survive underground. You can imagine the damage that's done, the long term damage that's done as something like that happens. And of course, they've been sexually used and abused and more. And so I'm excited that we're involved with this because it's been on my heart for a long time. I'm excited that we get to continue with the homeless ministry, the battered women. That's such an important thing. You know, when a woman is being abused, when a woman's being abused and she feels hopeless and there's no place for her to go, this is a place she can escape to, run to, and they'll protect her and take care of her, and we're happy to help with food. I never thought that a lot of our ministry would be to the ministries, and that's kind of what a lot of it's become. The people who are doing this fantastic work, ministering to them, and then also providing food for them. Todd, not all that long ago, we had a very generous gift that was specifically for putting in a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer here in the storehouse, which was a game changer for us because we were trying to put everything in refrigerators and freezers, the 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 freestanding ones, and so now we have all the space to be able to put food in, and right after that, these areas to actually take in more food really opened up, and here we are. So it is a new day, Todd, isn't it? It's a new day. It's some new challenges. Um, I want to reiterate that we're not done on the streets. And
Mm.
Todd, I don't know anyone who is better working with the homeless on the streets as Lebo has been.
Right, right.
He's incredible. He's
Yeah,
incredible. And he's
yeah,
even working through a C.S. Lewis book, Mere Christianity, with a whole bunch of people who are on the streets. And they're reading the chapter ahead and they come and they talk about it. And, just such a wonderful ministry. And I'm
yeah.
very excited about that. Todd, we've discussed several times that we don't have to have the name sanctuary on everything. This is one huge ministry. One of the reasons that we use the moniker that we do, We Are Metal, We Are Family, is because it goes beyond sanctuary. It's a family that all of us are involved with. And if you don't like metal, what? What? No. You know, we even welcome people that listen to country music, Todd.
I was just going to
Even.
say that.
I know. And, that's a surprise, I know, but what are you going to do? You got to let everybody in. I'm just
you
kidding.
know,
But we are
Bob.
family. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. And I was thinking about this the other day when we started Sanctuary. Well, not we. You when you started, I got to come alongside of you, there at the beginning and everything. Loved it. But when you put Sanctuary together and formulated it, in my mind, the word sanctuary was so fitting because it wasn't just at the time. It was about metal and the bands and what we were doing. We going into whiskey, the go-go and Gazzari's and all these bars in LA and passing out tracts and inviting folks to church. Um, that was great, but Sanctuary has taken on such a unique form now, in that it really is a sanctuary for people, and to be able to come and just unload and to receive and to for us to pour into.
Yes,
It doesn't just
absolutely.
that, yeah, and that it's such a pleasure to see when the ministries come. It's exciting, and right now they've been coming, loading up, and taking off. What we want to do is have them come, sit down and relax, have a cup of coffee. If they need something to eat, we can get them something to eat, and just have some fellowship time with them and help them rejuvenate and that kind of thing. We've already got the stuff packaged up for them. We can load them up in probably less than 5 7 minutes, and they'd be on their way. But the idea is to have that unity and that support from us behind them. Not only in the ministries that are feeding on the streets, but the shelter and these families. They have church family, but they need some place that they can really unwind and really feel like, they don't have to look, you know, take their family out and look like it's the perfect family or anything like that. It's not.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and if you
Barry
think
said
about,
something here, Todd,
yeah,
that I think is really important. Barry
what's
Morrison
that?
on the screen. He says
Yeah,
sanctuary is a safe place.
yes,
Barry, you don't know how much I appreciate that. And Todd,
yeah,
as Todd told you, he's been with Sanctuary since the very first meeting a long time ago. He and I have been
yeah,
friends longer than that. 43
yes,
years, Todd, I think.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Yeah,
Um, but one of the reasons we chose the name Sanctuary was for that reason. But we wanted it to be a safe place. There's a
you
helicopter
said
over my head.
you sound good.
I know, yeah. Hopefully they don't start shooting. So so we wanted it to be a safe place, a sanctuary for people to kind of come out of the storm and to find a safe haven. And at that point, there was a movie that had been very popular called Sanctuary, if you remember that. It was about these people that were in this city they were all bound up and everything. And then they found out that there was life outside of the city. There was sanctuary in a different way than they had been told. And Barry, that's why I appreciate what you just said, because not only has it been a safe place for the heavy metal crowd for almost 40 years, but it's now become a safe place for people who are abused and battered and homeless and forgotten and whatever. Our outreach has been huge with that. So, Todd, we've been able to expand way beyond our borders, and we've been able to affect people that would normally not be reached. And I'm very excited for that. So, folks, that also leads me to one other thing, and that is that we really want you to be involved. And involved means prayer, first of all. And people always say that, leading up to asking for money. They always say, well, prayer is really important. And what they're really saying is, I got to get that out of the way so I can ask for money. I'm going to ask for money in just a minute. But I want to tell you that if I had to choose between your prayer support and money, I would choose your prayer support. And Todd, we know how important it's been for us to be covered in prayer. And God can do anything. My focus is never on people's ability to pay for the ministry, because then I'm focused on people and not on Him. And He can provide in any way possible. It's important. But prayer. So your heart, prayer. Your time, if you're in the area, we could sure use some help. And then lastly, finances. And folks, it takes a lot of people being a little bit involved. And sometimes you say, well, if we just had these huge donors, that would be nice. But I'll tell you, the thing that blesses me the most is when you have people who simply say, I can afford $20 a month, or I can afford, whatever it is, $10 a month. And you put it all together and you have a lot of people involved. I would rather have that almost. Now, people can afford more, that's great too. But Todd, it really helps us with monthly income to keep everything going. And that's been really important. So, folks, you see it on the screen where to go, but sanctuaryinternational.com or wearemetalwearfamily.com. Either one, it'll take you to our giving page, and we would appreciate that. Well, Todd, the the ministries with food is not the only thing that we do.
No,
I'm
no,
sitting outside of the storehouse, and by the way, my home is right there. Can you see? Right behind me, and at the bottom of my driveway is what we've called the storehouse, and it's a big building that Todd we had intended to use just for the homeless ministry, and it's developed into food for a lot of people, but it's also become sanctuary for the metal crowd as well. Again, we
Yes.
had
Yeah.
planned on doing this in another location and in other ways, and the finances weren't there. And then I've been having these barbecues that just keep growing and growing. We're still calling them barbecues, and that's the most fun part about it. But now
Yeah.
we've got this huge building where a whole lot of people can fit inside. And as Todd said, we've kind of decorated it to look like a heavy metal diner. I know, the first of its kind, a heavy metal diner. And of course, we're not an operating diner, but that's the motif that we have. Just kind of a fun thing. But but we're getting together still, Todd, at this point once a month, and on the first Saturday of every month, except for September, because we'll be at Immortal Fest. But the first Saturday of every month, we have the barbecue. I know, the barbecue, and we get together, and the worship team, Jim Laverty, and the worship team are here. And you know, Todd, I looked out at the last one, and I looked at all the bands that were represented there, members of the old band. From Vengeance to Tourniquet to Deliverance to Recon to The Crucified to Wedding Party to, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The bands that are here, many of them that are in the worship team, we spent some time in worship. I spent a little bit of time talking, and then we spend a lot of time eating and talking too. And so that's been important. And then the following day, on Sunday, we get together in the morning and we do what I call Acts 242. It's the 242 gathering. And Acts 242 is important. I'm writing a book about it right now. And it says they continued to listen to the apostles' teaching and devoted themselves to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Teach, meet, eat, pray. That's the name of my new book. And it's such an important aspect of our church life. And so that's what we try to do here on those weekends. And Todd, we kind of have a feeling, don't we, that this may not just be a once a month thing. This may become something a little more than that in the future. But it sure has been a lot of fun, hasn't it?
It has. It has. It really has. Let me back up a little bit and catch up with you.
Yes, good.
So,
I'm traveling.
so yeah, yeah. Well, but I love where you're going with this. Um, Let me back up just a little bit with the ministries. One of the things that Jim Laverty will tell Pastor Bob and myself, and he'll say, if you don't let people know what you need, they're not going to know.
Yeah,
So let me put
that's
that out
right.
there for you. And a lot of the daily stuff, I'm right in there with it on a daily basis. We've got a guy who lives at the storehouse, Pastor Jake, wonderful man. I mean, this guy is
Yes.
awesome, and he does great stuff with the ministries. He's the fine tuner of being there with the ministry. So I want to make sure we mention him. He is
And Todd,
awesome.
he's also been with Sanctuary 35 years.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
He has. He was a
Yes.
pastor in, was it Spokane, Washington?
Well, yeah, but also in Hesperia, a lot of people
Hesperia. Yeah,
know Jake. Yeah.
right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. And so the challenge that what we're looking to do now is, so we've had this box truck for a few years. It does not have a lift on it. So everything that's done on this truck, when it's loaded up, the locations can load it up, but then we have to manually unload it. We're talking a couple of pallets worth of food and stuff. So it can be a little taxing physically wise. And I'm not as young as I used to be. So,
What?
so if anybody's in the area, they want to help unload, come on over. Um, but what we're looking to do is to pick up we'd like to get an electric, well, in the South they call it tow motor. Um, in other parts of the country, they call it another name, but in the South we call it a tow motor. I'd send some
Forklift.
in the south.
Yeah.
Yes, other places. And when I was in California, it was a forklift. Somebody said tow motor out here. I'm like, I
Right.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That over there, that's not a tow motor. That's a forklift.
Yeah.
No, it's a tow motor.
Right.
So anyway, we want to get one of those because as food comes in from Feed America and Trader Joe's, it's going to be a lot more imperative to get that on and off the truck a lot easier and a lot quicker. That's one of the big expenses that we're running up against. And I say big because it's just we don't have a lot of finances to wander out to buy it, but those kind of things. That's one area. A couple of other areas also that aren't as big, but that's probably one of the bigger ones. Going into to Acts 242 and the Bob BQ. I have a hard time saying that. But that has been such an amazing blessing um, to be a part of, and it's incredible. So everybody that's hearing this or sees this, you are welcome to come to the barbecue and to the Sunday morning. We barbecue. We start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. The next one is October 7th, and it'll be on October 7th at 3 o'clock. And we just sit down. We have a meal together. Jamie will cook up barbecue up something, and sometimes I'll help out. And then we'll after we're done eating, we'll have a time of worship, and Pastor Bob will talk for a little bit, and then we just have a really awesome time of fellowship till whenever in the evening. It just goes till whenever. People will fly in from places. We people from California, from Chicago, from Alabama, from Florida. So they're coming from all over, and you are invited also. So that's an open invitation to you to come on out on Saturday, the 7th of October. Sunday, we start at 9:30, but about 8:30 or so, we serve breakfast, and we do pancakes, eggs, and bacon. And so if you want to come out for a breakfast, and of course we have coffee, not just any coffee. We have the best coffee in the world.
The whole
Headbangers
world.
Brew is amazing,
Yes.
and the sales on that are picking up, which is great. We make about Sanctuary about $3 per item that sells will go towards the ministry. So we're trying to sell as much of that as we can because that way people get something, they're blessed for it, and about $3 per item goes to the ministry. So and it goes into right in there, just to where it goes. So so we're trying to sell as much coffee as we can, and it really is good. It's excellent. We've got coffee stories I could tell you. People who weren't coffee drinkers before that are now. So and we have the decaf. If you're like me, I've got to have decaf. I know it's decaf, and people think, "Oh, decaf. Why would you even drink coffee if it's decaf?" Let me tell you something. Our decaf is excellent, and I'm a flavored guy. I got to have flavor, but it is excellent. Second to none out there. You can't even tell the difference between decaf and regular, other than maybe the jitters if you get jittery like I would. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. And yeah, Acts 242 is awesome. On Sunday mornings, we don't just have breakfast. Bob will do a talk, and it'll go into sometimes into a little bit of a Socratic discussion. Sometimes it's just him talking and teaching us and giving us insight, which is wonderful. And then it's just again a time to get together and hang out. So yeah, very cool.
And that's the best part. And Todd, as our internet improves, so will our ability to go live like this. And we
Yes.
would love to start um, doing all of our gatherings live as well. So hopefully that's not that far away. That's an airplane this time. Sorry.
It's
The
okay.
things
We
you
can't
put
hear
up
it.
with being outside, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 True.
Yeah. We'll take right now. When we do the Saturday events, it's usually me running around videotaping the whole thing, and then I'll take it and I'll put it into a video. And so I am not the technical guy. I'm not the person who does, I can put things together, but it's not anything special or anything like that. But then I put it out there so people can at least see what we're doing on Saturdays. Um, our awesome, we've got amazing tech guys that are very good artists in what they do and intros and stuff like that. John Costander, who is, I want to mention him. He's actually producing this right now. Did the intro on everything. He did our commercial for Headbangers Brew. He is an artist and he is very good. I love his heart, who he is, the depth of who he is. It's amazing. He is a great, great guy. We've also got another artist, Hayden, who does all of our graphic stuff. You've seen it. Anytime you see a caricature or something like that, that's Hayden. So when you see Metal Dude, that's Hayden. So really good people around us. But if we had better internet at the storehouse, we'll go live when we have better internet at the storehouse for the Saturday evenings and the X 242 on Sunday. So we will do that. It's just we're not there yet. So unless you're outside of the storehouse where Bob is.
Where I am
So
literally sitting right outside the front door right now. Yes.
okay, yeah,
So,
yeah,
Todd, there's another announcement that I want to make today. It's a big one, and uh, and Todd's going, "Uh oh, what's he going to say?"
I know.
Yeah,
Okay,
um, folks, a lot of you bought my book called Seriously, which I was so blessed to write and to be part of, and it's letters from myself to my 21-year-old self. And do you know that this year it'll be 50 years since I was 21? I know, a lot of years. But we decided to re-release it in journal form. Now that's exciting. And Todd actually put together the journal part of it. So you can go through in snippets, read it, look at some scripture, and then write down, your gleanings. And Todd, we're getting ready fairly soon for the release of Seriously, the journal. And that'll be very exciting when that drops. So
yes,
we'll keep you posted and let you know.
yes, absolutely. This is a great book. When I read this book, I read it, of course, before we revised it and everything, but I had to read it a number of times after we revised it. The thing about this book, Pastor Bob, is it's a lot of it is the essence of what sanctuary is and where we were birthed out of. So as you're reading this, as you pick this book up and you're hearing Pastor Bob talk to his younger self, um, he's talked to thousands of us and given us the same advice for years. When I read this, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I remember him talking about this in 1997 or whatever it was. But this book is so good because it's got the depth of wisdom behind it, and it has the the temperament, the essence of what sanctuary is and was, um, over history and over time. So as you're reading this, just kind of keep that in mind that this is what sanctuary is all about. These words that are in there, and my contribution to this, I needed to read it and then grasp the understanding of where Bob was going with it, and then say, okay, if it's me, what questions do I have for myself to expand my insight into what he's talking about? And so there are questions about, have I really done this? Am I really digging deep in this area? Have I forgiven this situation, or have I touched on this area in my life? And it points out areas that you'll walk out in your life that have to do with gleanings, not just gleanings, but healing. Times where you're going to look at it and say, "Man, I hadn't looked at it like that, or recalled that in years." And so I think it's going to be a blessing. I would even say when it comes out, get it for somebody for Christmas. because it's a really, really good book. Very well written. Bob did a great job. Pastor Bob did a great job.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and we'll keep you posted and let you know when it's coming out. Folks, thank you so much for being a part of Sanctuary.
yeah,
Sanctuary isn't just a physical place, it's a family. And I love that part about it. You know, we have some great podcasters. I'm not the only one doing podcasting. Obviously, Todd is as well. Chris and Don, and Jamie, and Pastor Bob 2.0, and Chris Keene, and Scott, and we have others. And I hope that you're
yeah.
taking advantage of those as we learn and we grow together. And then, Todd, I'm excited to go live with our stuff down here, and I think that's going to be fairly soon when we
I
can
can't
go
wait.
live from the storehouse,
Yes,
and
it's gonna be
that'll
great.
be a good thing. Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Todd, is there anything else that we should be talking about today? I think we've covered the basics.
I think we have, and
I
I
think
would
we
like to
have.
do this more often and just kind of keep people abreast of what we're doing.
Yes.
Let them so that they know where we're at, what things are looking like. This was long overdue. We were trying to do
Yes.
this a number of times. We just didn't have the internet connection for Pastor Bob to get on here.
Yeah.
So come over to my house.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
um, I think we should do this more often and just so
Yes.
we want you to feel a part of this because you are a part of this, and this is so important. And we are just starting on these areas that we're just scratching the surface, and there's so many more things to come. It's going to be pretty awesome. Yeah,
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
yeah,
Well, Todd, it's been fun.
it has,
It's a little
as usual.
warm. It's a little humid. I'm ready to go in. You know, there's a reason that God made air conditioning for
Yes,
people like me. Just saying.
and me.
So I'm ready to
Yeah,
head back in where there's a little AC. But folks, thank you for being involved and thank you for tuning in today. And don't forget, you are blessed. So
yeah.
go and be a blessing.